So, the boss is back with another announcement. Two announcement. The first one is number 3 ranked Dustin Poirier taking on number 12 ranked Benoit Saint-Denis. And Charles Oliveira, number 1 ranked, taking on Arman Tsarukyan, number 4 ranked. Let's start with DP against BNS. Why is this fight happening? It's a surprise, right? Since Dustin Poirier has not fought a contender since Dan Hooker, right? And that was 4 years ago. That was in 2020. So good for DP for accepting this fight. I don't think he wanted this fight. I think the UFC made him sign this since he just lost to Justin Gaethje, and he has nobody to fight except contenders. But why is he not fighting Gamrot or Turner? I do understand Gamrot is not a fun fight since Gamrot is more of a grappler. But why not Turner? I mean, Turner just knocked out Bobby Green like 6 times in a row in 5 seconds. So why is he not fighting Gamrot? Turner. Let's look at Benoit Saint-Denis' last 5 fights. Right? He just knocked out Matt Frivola. Then he finished Thiago Moises, Bonfim, Miranda, and Nicholas Stolze. He's finished all of his fights. So I do understand the hype. He's a Frenchman. His aura is great, but I don't think he's gonna beat DP. Okay, this is my prediction. Dustin Poirier by decision. You've seen what DP has done to hungry contenders. We saw what he's done to Dan Hooker. He smoked Dan Hooker. He beat him up. I do understand that Dan Hooker put up a good fight, but I don't see Benoit Saint-Denis giving any problems to Dustin Poirier. I think people such as Lucas Tracy are having recency bias. Like the knockout of Saint-Denis over Matt Frivola was more of a mistake from Frivola since he was backing up with his hands down than something that Benoit did great. I mean, I don't think DP's gonna have any problems with Benoit Saint-Denis. And yeah, it's gonna be a domination from DP. I mean, DP has just lost to Justin Gaethje, but he beat Michael Chandler, and before that, he beat McGregor twice. Right? We do understand that his jiu-jitsu is a bit off
Who ain't got jujitsu?
since he lost to Charles, but Charles' jiu-jitsu is great. So there's nothing more you can do. But I want to talk about what a win would do to these two guys. I think a win for DP gives him a title shot. And a win for Benoit Saint-Denis, he has to fight 2 more fights. I'm sorry. Guys. Who the fuck is this guy? He just beat Matt Frivola, who's not ranked anymore. So he beat essentially an unranked guy, and now he's fighting for number 3. Make this make sense to me. I don't understand. He has to beat somebody else, and then beat somebody else in a number 1 contender fight, and then fight for the title. Instead, the DP, after this, he fights one more time, probably against maybe a rematch against Justin Gaethje, or he fights the loser between the next fight. Okay? And this is one last thing. Why is this on UFC 299 and not on UFC 300? In my opinion, UFC 299 March 9th in Miami is going to be way more stacked than UFC 300, since the fights booked already for UFC 299 are O'Malley against Cheeto, Kevin Holland against Michael Venom Page, Peter Yan against Sonya Dong, Jack Della Maddalena against Gilbert Burns, Gamrot against Dos Anjos, Curtis Blades against Almeida, plus this fight, DP against Benoit Saint-Denis. This is this is gonna be a great fight. Yeah, great card. But UFC 300 is seeming kind of bad. I mean, this fight is way more entertaining than Leon against Bilal. Any of the fights I just mentioned are gonna be more entertaining than Leon against Bilal. I'm sorry, but those are not stars. Now, let's segue into the other fight that just got announced, which is Charles Oliveira against Arman Tsarukyan. Now, Charles has beaten Benil Dariush, which we'll talk in a second. He has lost to Islam, beat Justin Gaethje, beat Dustin Poirier, beat Michael Chandler. Crazy. I think that Charles Oliveira beats Arman Tsarukyan. Now let's look at Arman Tsarukyan's last 5 fights. He has beat Benil Dariush, no problem. He starched him. He finished Joaquim Silva. Now let's pause here. I watched this fight, and Joaquim Silva, who barely beat 70-year-old Clay Guida, he got dropped. Joaquim Silva got dropped Tsarukyan. I think it was in the first and the second round. I can't remember, but he dropped him, right? Tsarukyan was having a tough night against Joaquim Silva. That was after beating Damir Ismagulov, who's proven to be kind of a bad fighter since he also got dominated by Grant Dawson. And before that, he lost to Gamrot. Now, he lost to Gamrot 1 year and a half ago. Now, Gamrot is nowhere to be seen. I mean, he beat Tsarukyan, and I've never heard of Gamrot getting anything. Why is that? Gamrot is not a boring fighter. Like, he's a grappler, but he's not boring. But why is Arman Tsarukyan getting a number one contender bout before Gamrot? I think it's stupid. But whatever. This is not saying that Tsarukyan's bad. Tsarukyan's really good. I mean, you saw what he did to Dariush. But that being said, I think Charles has a better chance of beating Tsarukyan, right? I would put Charles at 60% and Arman at 40% chance to beat Tsarukyan. No, yeah, to win the fights. Right. So I don't think Charles should be fighting a contender like Tsarukyan, since the fight against Dariush, I remember clearly, that was a number one contender bout. And I do get that his fight was booked against Islam, but he pulled out due to a cut. But I think Islam should be fighting Charles now, and Arman should be fighting Dustin Poirier, and Benoit Saint-Denis should be fighting another bum. I think it's stupid. But I do like Arman. He has a great YouTube channel. He has the second best YouTube channel in MMA, after mine, of course. But I do like Arman. And finally, let's talk about what, like, the biggest surprise for me was Justin Gaethje. Again, Justin Gaethje against DP in July, UFC 292. That was a number one contender fight. And Justin Gaethje is not fighting for the title. I don't understand these number one contender fights. They're marketed as a number one contender fight, but the winner doesn't fight for the title. Instead, I think Justin Gaethje is gonna fight. Obviously, he's gonna fight Masvidal, since Masvidal tweeted that he was unretired a couple of days ago, and this is gonna be probably the main or co-main event for UFC 300. Max Holloway is a possibility too, but it's way more likely than that Justin Gaethje is gonna fight against Masvidal. I don't like this fight. I mean, I do like this fight, but not that much. I prefer both the fights I just presented than Justin Gaethje against Masvidal, simply because Justin Gaethje is gonna fuck up George Masvidal. Masvidal is on a 3-fight skid. He lost to Burns. Before that, he lost to Colby. Sorry, 4 fights skid. And before that, he lost the 2 fights against Kamaru Usman. So Justin Gaethje is gonna start Masvidal. This is gonna be for the BMF unification belt. I think the BMF is stupid. I'm not the only one that thinks that. Whatever. It's gonna sell fights probably. But I don't understand why Justin is doing this. I thought he wanted the title more than anything. He said that this is gonna be his last shot at the title. I don't know what a win against Masvidal does to him. But then again, maybe he wanted the title since it brings money. And this fight against Masvidal is gonna bring a lot of money to Justin Gaethje. Or against Max Holloway. But it's unlikely. And let's close this video off with what the fuck is going on with Islam. Dana White claims that he's injured. I don't think he's injured. He may be injured, by the way. But didn't wasn't he calling out for fights? He said, "Give me somebody March or I'll wait after Ramadan." I think that's interesting. I think Islam does not want to fight. Obviously, does not want to fight. And Dana White has just covered this up with injury. It just like he's injured, and that's why he's not gonna fight Justin Gaethje. That's the reason. Is because he's injured. But no, it's. I think it obviously is because of Ramadan. Ramadan starts March 10th and ends the 9th of April. So I don't understand why. I don't wanna like see Islam fight during Ramadan. I think it's stupid. So Islam is not injured. Justin Gaethje is gonna start Masvidal if that fight's announced. Charles is gonna beat Armin, and DP is gonna fuck up Benoit Saint-Denis. This being said, I love all these fighters. I have tons of respect for them. But this is my opinion. Please let me know in the comments if I'm a casual. I'm telling you guys, I'm not a casual. I have the best takes in the UFC YouTube scene. So